If you're ever in Taiwan, one of the must-do attractions is to head over to Hot Spring.
Yes, and this week we want to give you a brief introduction of the hot spring culture in Taiwan and also give you an inside look of Spring City Resort in Beitou.
Welcome back to Sing Sun. I'm Kirsten.
And I'm Eric. This week, we want to give you a brief introduction of the hot spring culture in Taiwan and also focus in on the Beitou area and tell you a bit about the hot springs in that area because it's the closest to Taipei and is great for those who want a quick visit.
And before we get into it, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that we can keep bringing you videos like this.
Having been influenced by the Japanese colonization, the Taiwanese also love their hot springs. Throughout the island, you can find hot springs all over. There have been over 100 hot springs discovered throughout Taiwan, and the highest concentration of them would be in the northern region, where Taipei is. If you're in Taipei and looking to experience one of these hot springs, there are 3 main hot spring areas that you can choose from. First is the Wulai region, which is 20 kilometers southeast of Taipei. It's a little bit hard to get to by public transit when I went myself, but you can always take a taxi. But the quality of the hot springs here seems to be better than the Beitou areas. There are less of these hot springs to choose from, but the whole area seems less touristy, if that's important to you. Next, we have the Jinshan area, which is north of Taipei within the Yangmingshan area. And that's actually a volcanic national park in itself. Between the 3, it is the farthest from Taipei, taking a good 1-hour drive to get there. It is very beautiful though and very scenic, and many people go there for the great hikes that Yangmingshan offers. And finally, we have the Beitou area, which is the closest and most accessible to Taipei. You can actually get there by MRT. Besides the hot springs in the area, the whole Beitou area is worth a visit if you have never been there. Some interesting attractions to visit besides hot spring is the Thermal Valley and the Beitou Museum, if you're interested in the history of hot springs in this area. The museum was actually originally built as a Japanese public bathhouse back in 1913 and was later converted to be the Beitou Hot Spring Museum in 1998. Admission is free and is easy to get to via the MRT at the Xin Beitou stop. Now let's talk a bit about the actual hot springs in the Beitou area. First, let's start with their health benefits. The Japanese have been using hot springs for a long time. It is said that the first hot spring bath, called onsen in Japanese, dates back to the year 712. There are many stories of the Japanese using these onsens for their natural healing powers. There's actually 10 different types of springs in the world, and you can find 3 of these types in Beitou. The first type is the green sulfur hot spring, and it's strongly sulfurous. It has water that's got the color of jade and is the hottest of the 3, with a range of 50 to 75 degrees Celsius. This type of hot spring is highly prized as it's only found in 2 places in the world. One is Beitou, Taiwan, and the other is Akita, Japan. This hot spring is believed to cure skin diseases, gout, rheumatism, and ease exhaustion. Second is the red iron hot spring. The red iron hot spring is different than the other 2 types of hot spring as its water is clear. In terms of temperature, it falls in the middle between the 3 types with a range of 40 to 60 degrees Celsius. This hot spring is believed to relieve nerve strains and inflammation. Third is the white sulfur hot spring, which contains hydrogen sulfide, has a milky, creamy look to it, and smells strongly of sulfur. So if you don't like that rotten smell, you might not want this. But it is the lowest average temperature of the 3, and it's around 45 degrees Celsius. This type of hot spring is another prized treasure in the hot spring world because it's only found in 2 places, Beitou, Taiwan, and Japan's Kansai area. This hot spring is believed to treat ulcers, chronic skin diseases, liver diseases, and even diabetes. There are only a few hot springs which are co-ed in Beitou. In these ones, you will need to wear a swimsuit and a swim cap. Many of you may not know this, but if you are in a public swim area in Taiwan, you should always be wearing a swim cap for hygienic reasons. And now here are some common etiquette practices in public baths if you've never been one before. First, make sure that you clean yourself thoroughly with soap and shampoo before entering the bath. There will be a shampoo area for this. The public bath is not like your bath at home where you sit to clean yourself. Instead, it is only meant to be soaked in for relaxation purposes. Another etiquette to note is that you should keep your voices down as people are trying to relax. It's a very calm and zen place. And of course, last, wear a swim cap for hygienic purposes. I've bathed a lot in public baths and onsens in Taiwan and Japan, and here are some tips that I can share with you from my personal experience. First, try bathing at night when it's cooler and you can see the stars. It's a very cool experience. Also, try bathing when it rains for an even more sensual experience. I love it when my body's hot, but then cool raindrops drop on my face. Another tip for health is to alternate from the cold and hot pools to stimulate your blood flow. It's very healthy for you. Another tip, go in the off hours if you don't like crowds, or pick a more luxurious hot spring because they tend to be less crowded. Most of the hot springs in this area are private hot springs found in resort hotels. You can book just the private baths and don't need to stay the night, or you can have a room with it. Because these are private, feel free to be naked the way that Japanese like to experience the hot springs. Now let's talk a bit about the hot spring options in Beitou. If you're looking to visit one of these hot springs, there are many different options in Beitou and I'll summarize them here. First, for the budget conscious, you have the city-run public hot spring. It only costs 50 NT and you will need your swim cap and swimsuit, so don't forget that. The facilities are basic, but it is a great option for those on a budget or don't want to be naked. The water is the green sulfur type. If you're searching on Google Maps, you'll find this as the public hot spring. It's also known as Millennium Public Bath. If budget is not an issue, then there are many hot springs inside hotels and resorts. They are typically more modern and have luxurious features and amenities. There is a range of price points from mid-level to luxury, but they will be more money than the public bathhouse. In these hotels, you can either book a private bath where you get your own quarters and can even stay the night as a hotel room, or they will have public baths. Important to note though is that these public baths are still within the hotel and is separated by gender, so you are expected to be bathing naked. The price for the luxury hot springs would be about 1600 NT for the public baths, or if you want a private bath in your room, then it's 2300 NT, plus or minus. There's many options out there. Many will offer discount packages which include food and drinks and a stay, so look into that if you're interested. If you're looking for the most traditional hot spring, then you can try Long Nai Tang. Long Nai Tang is the oldest bath in Beitou, dating back to the Japanese occupation of Taiwan. In fact, the Prince of Japan bathed here in 1923. It is a green sulfur spring type and great for those who want to experience hot spring baths in its most traditional way. Word of warning though, this is a very small place with only 2 baths, one for men and one for women. There won't be any cold pools for you to alternate in, and don't expect any fancy amenities. Also, both baths are indoor, so you won't get an open air experience. The entrance fee is very reasonable at 150 NT, which is like $5 US. If you're wanting to experience hot spring as a family or have an opposite gender child like me, then you have much less options. In my research, I only found 2 that offer this. One was the Millennium Public Bathhouse and 2, the Spring City Resort. They're the only 2 that are co-ed and allows you to bathe in your bathing suit. Don't forget your swim cap. Millennium is a great option for those who have a tighter budget. It is open air, but is also typically quite busy because of its low price points. If you're looking for a good option for a modern luxury hot spring option that can cater to families, then you can try Spring City Resort. Here's an inside look from our visit a year ago. So we're at the hot spring resort in Beitou. Beitou is a city just north of Taipei. It's very easy to get to. MRT station, or the MRT goes right there. And if you choose the spring resort, they have a shuttle bus. Also, the other reason we chose spring is it's one of the few and probably the best family-style resorts of hot springs. Because here, mostly it's segregated by male or female. There's not many that will actually allow you to bathe in a bathing suit with family together. This is one of them. The other one is the public pool, which is a lot cheaper. It's only 40 NT, and that's the Beitou public hot spring. This one was 800 for adults, and if you, as an insider tip, if you sign up for their line account, they give you an additional discount off the second person. As a child, 550. Otherwise, the child is 800 NT. So you'll notice that there's no one around, which is great. The outdoor hot spring, they have private and outdoor. So we wanted to go to the outdoor. The outdoor hot spring was actually closed because we're basically in the middle of a rainstorm, a thunderstorm. So they said they really don't want to open it because of the risk of thunder. I insisted, and I said, I really like to do a hot spring when it's raining. Can you please open it? And they did, which is great. So we have all this place to ourselves. Usually it's very busy. And I don't know about you, but when I'm in a hot spring, I love the rain, the feeling of rain touching my skin, and I'm in a nice hot pool. So yeah, we lucked out from that perspective. But yeah, this is spring, hot spring resort.
And right now we are in a certain pool called the Lion Pool. It has like sort of curvy seats that you can sit in underneath the water. And right now it's 39.8 degrees, I think. Yeah. And it's actually pretty nice. It's nice and hot. And the thing I like about hot springs is that the water makes it so that your fingers don't wrinkle up, and it's really, it feels hot. And actually, I'm supposed to be wearing a swim cap right now. I don't like them though, so I'm just gonna wear it when no one's around. Yeah.
43 degrees, it's scalding. Woo. This is nice. There's nothing that beats the experience of an outdoor hot spring in the rain. You feel the cold rain hit your body as the rest of your body is nice and warm and comfortable. Now, unfortunately, this place doesn't realize that. For sure, they're not connoisseurs of hot spring because every pool that I've gone to has a cover. Fortunately for me, I found one pool which has a little sliver of opening, which I managed to find to let the rain fall in. That's the way it should really be, I say. I'll stay here forever.
So, this is apparently the cold pool. That's not that cold. I've been in colder. Way colder. So right now we are see what this feels like. We just finished the hot spring and we came out, like we're in the lobby thing. It's a hotel. So I actually think it was pretty nice. And they had a kids pool, but it was really shallow. It was like 2 steps down and it was pretty cold, but not too cold. And then there's this other cold pool like that. I liked that one. And my favorite pool is probably the lying down pool. One of the first pools we went into, and I think the service is great. Yeah, overall it was actually pretty clean. And in the change rooms, there's the lockers, and then there's the bathrooms, and then the showers, and then this side, well, in the women's bathroom or change room, there's the blow dryers, lotion, and I think it was. And tissues and Q-tips. Yeah. And then this is like, it's a table thing. And then at the end, there's these 2 little boxes. They're white. And in one of them, there's these cute little combs like this. They can open up like this. This side is, I think it's a brush. I just call both of them brush or comb. I call this a detail comb. I call this a regular comb. So that's what I'm going to call it. Okay, so they have these little things, and next beside it is another box where you can recycle it if you don't want to keep it. But we travel a lot, so I'm going to keep it.
We hope you enjoyed this video and it gave you a good overview of the hot springs in Taiwan, especially the ones in Beitou.
Please consider hitting that like button and subscribing so that we can keep bringing you videos like this.